when you go in a mental hospital or you go to your doctors, it's take the tablets or have the shock treatment or what's the matter with you? Whereas here, you watch other people and then you seem to get involved and then all your problems come out with their problems, so you're all sharing them.
I never got any congratulations cards. I know people don't think of that, of sending you congratulations cards when your baby's dead, but I'd had a baby.
Barbara and Julie are patients at a unique community mental health centre with a radical new approach to mental illness. Tonight, World in Action reports on a 5-year experiment which has helped hundreds of mental patients to stay at home and stay out of hospital. Brindle House in Hyde, Cheshire. They're treating the same problems and illnesses as any hospital-based service, but their policy is to keep patients out of hospital beds, and it's won the approval of both patients and local doctors like Fred Shipman.
In the past, if a patient had got a mental illness that required admission to hospital, the patient was formally admitted, undressed and placed in bed, and was treated as though they had a physical illness. The consultant would come round, often in a white coat, and there was an invisible barrier between the patient and the doctor. Brindle House has gone a long way to breaking these barriers down. If you've got a mental illness such as depression, to have you admitted to a hospital is adding another factor towards that depression. If you can stay in the community, receive your treatment in the community, with your family around you, your usual friends, then this all adds to the speed of recovery from the illness.
Brindle House offers help to anyone who needs it. Couples are often seen together. Consultant psychiatrist Alan Tate and social worker Lynn Bradley are treating Julie and her husband Martin. Julie suffered a stillbirth 2 years ago.
She was very depressed and she was suffering a significant degree of distress, which any psychiatrist seeing her would be able to diagnose an anxiety state.
Julie is now being helped to overcome the grief which she bottled up at the time of the stillbirth. She recalls how a nurse advised her then not to see her baby.
She kept trying to persuade me not to see him. And I was in no fit state to argue, but Martin said she really would like to see him, so I did see him. To me he looked lovely. He might not have done to her, but I was so drugged up and he was my baby.
Yeah. And they were the tears that you felt at that time?
Yes, but I didn't show them at the time because I wasn't allowed to.
How come?
Nobody let me cry at the time.
How did that happen?
Well, in hospital, I was wheeled up after having the baby. Martin was sent home and was stitched up. The baby was wheeled away for an autopsy. Nobody said anything to me. Just wheeled me up into this ward and all I could hear was crying babies all over.
It's not as though those feelings never happened or were never real. There were real feelings that were around at that time which got too difficult to fully experience and got dealt with in other ways.
Light complexion, whereas baby was dark hair, brown eyes.
Chubby cheeks.
Chubby cheeks.
So that's part of your memory.
Yeah. I just wished.
Because as you said that, your face smiled as though that was, you could remember him and you could see him, and you made something that was like you and that.
Yeah.
And then I think actually walked out with him, when she had a look.
That's the last you saw.
That's the last you saw.
That was it, yeah.
Nobody ever said what happened to him.
So you've not really said goodbye to that baby.
I never did anything for him.
You carried him for 9 months.
I could have had him with me there.
So Julie blames
What we were doing with them was going back and creating a different climate than which had been around at the time of the stillbirth, creating a climate in which they could really get in touch with those feelings and experience them.
Informality is the key in Brindle House. Social workers outnumber doctors, and staff and patients are on first-name terms. There are no white coats, no nurses, and no traditional deference to the consultants. Patients are consulted about their treatment, and they can see and write in their own case notes. Persuading health and social services to finance the experiment jointly took time. Mental illness carries a stigma, so public attitudes had to change too. John Gleisner established Brindle House.
It meant having public meetings, explaining the sorts of work we'd be doing, the sorts of people who would be coming here, to allay people's fears. I think that people often get a quite exaggerated notion of the sorts of dangers that exist from a place like this. And in fact, if anything, the people coming here are considerably more frightened than most people. They're not violent.
Traditional attitudes to the care of mental illness still prevail in Britain today. We went inside Brindle House to examine their alternative approach. Barbara is a new patient.
Well, I wanted to know why I get aggressive like I do. You know, I mean, I don't hit the kids, but, you know, I just say, get out the road, you know. And 1 minute I'm smashing with them, I can be dancing, and, you know, I'm pop and then just snap.
Barbara arrived at Brindle House after years of conventional treatment, including spells in mental hospitals. She was still severely depressed and worried about her aggressive feelings, and explained how she felt to social worker Roger Hargreaves and therapist Christine Nixon.
I feel as though I'm not normal. I mean, one of my neighbours came in yesterday and they said to me, are you feeling better now? Are you all right now? You know, so...
What did that make you feel?
As though there is something wrong, you know, as though I am a bit crazy in the head. I suppose we're all like that, but we don't admit to it.
She's 25-year-old.
Both doctors and social workers see patients at Brindle House. With more staff available, they've abolished the traditional long wait for a first appointment. Their town centre location is an extra advantage to patients. Family doctor Fred Shipman.
It means that somebody can go and be seen at Brindle House directly from my surgery. They can walk up the road and be seen within half an hour.
We can usually see people.
Senior social worker at the centre, Roger Hargreaves.
And we can give them a lot more attention early on, and that's really when it matters. It's when somebody's really desperate and really upset that they need the attention.
Yeah.
Barbara got immediate help, and within a week she'll be actively encouraged to look for the sources of her depression.
No, I mean...
I think in many ways she's very typical of the sort of person we deal with. I think if you asked a psychiatrist to sort of stick labels on her, he would say that she was anxious, tense, depressed, irritable. And that seems to me rather to miss the point about Barbara. Because what's coming over now we've sort of cleared all the medical bits out of the way, is somebody who really doesn't think very much of herself. And when somebody feels like that, then they're bound to feel depressed, and they're bound to get anxious, and they're bound to get worried.
She's got a very low opinion of herself.
At a meeting next day, Christine explains Barbara's problems so that the staff can plan Barbara's treatment according to her individual needs.
I actually didn't get the feeling that here was an aggressive lady. I actually felt here's a very sad and slightly overwrought lady who's continually putting herself down. She gets very little help about the house from the children and seems to see herself as being all mum and not having space or time to be herself in. And I'm sure that's what's causing part of the build-up of feelings.
Brindle House is unusual because, in contrast to the large and often isolated psychiatric hospital, it offers the combined skills of a group of mental health workers under one roof, on tap to the local community. But efforts are made to prevent patients becoming too dependent. They're encouraged to acquire practical skills so that they can stand on their own feet at home.
Bring on panic attacks when he recalls.
Group activities and intensive individual sessions run side by side. Helping the mentally ill to remain independent and to gain greater acceptance in the community attracted Alan Tate after a conventional training in psychiatry.
As well as treating the illness bits that people bring with them, we're trying to help them sort out and more successfully manage human problems. And I think we can do that by using our professional skills, but also by offering ourselves and using our own human experiences to help them do that.
The centre devotes the maximum amount of time to each client when they need it most. Anne was widowed 2 years ago, but severe depression subsequently prevented her from coping with day-to-day living. She's still so upset that she asked us not to show her face. Alan Tate wants her to recall her feelings at the time of her husband's death. She says those feelings are hidden in a fog.
Yeah, parts of it are just a sort of a fog almost.
Is it what?
As if they're in a fog, you know, even now. It's getting to be it's quite a time ago. And some of it I don't remember.
I don't feel there's a fog between you and me. I mean, the feelings on your face and the feelings that you're expressing can be seen quite clearly. You've needed a fog. She came saying, I feel as though I'm a zombie, that I'm doing things very mechanically, but somehow don't feel alive as a person. For her to become alive again as a person, you've got to take them back to where her feelings got cut off. It's putting them back into a situation which becomes very much more uncomfortable for them, that they experience considerable distress, considerable pain and anguish, which in the end, having experienced that, becomes therapeutic.
A week has passed. The fog concealing Anne's memories has been lifted. Now, in her third appointment in 8 days, Alan Tate has focused on her feelings of guilt, that in the last painful days of her husband's life, she was silently urging him to die.
He was going to die. And he still didn't know. I was screaming
that you were wanting to be out of that.
Yeah.
How?
Just inside, saying, you know, I can't stand anymore. It was a feeling when they said, you know, it's a week. And the week, sort of, and then they said it's just a matter of, you know, days, hours. And the hours went by, and he was still alive. I thought, you know, that was the only sign I was screaming, saying, you know, why don't you die? Do it according to the rules, you know. They said it's only going to be X days, why isn't it X days, you know?
That's the sort of feeling that says, hurry up and die.
Yeah.
Yeah? So you carry that guilt and it hurts. Hmm?
When it gets too close to the surface, yeah.
I think guilt hurts wherever it is.
Mm.
If it's up there, it hurts his guilt. If it's down there, it hurts his depression.
Still have a feeling we didn't really say goodbye.
Is that part of the bad feelings, the guilty feelings, that you somehow weren't there right at the end with him?
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you feel there was room in your marriage, in your love? Do you feel there was room in that for some forgiveness?
Yeah.
Do you feel you can forgive yourself?
The reason bit in me says, you have to, you're being ridiculous. But it doesn't stop the feelings. It's a problem.
I know. I think the difference about now is that you can take your reasoning bit and you can take your feelings bit and you can somehow put them together. And maybe you can live with them together. We couldn't do this sort of work if we operated in a traditional outpatient clinic where we saw people for a quarter of an hour. No, I mean, no way. They're not going to believe that you care for them or that they're going to trust you. So that they need time.
This personal, time-consuming approach is available to people in this area of Tameside, but rarely elsewhere in Britain. But the staff are convinced that they offer a more humane service by removing the label of mental illness. Roger Hargreaves.
And you ship somebody off to hospital and they start to think of themselves as being ill when perhaps they're not really ill in the strict sense of the word. And very often it can postpone the solution to the problem. Whereas if you try and stick with it and support the family and the person concerned in trying to work on the problems and trying to resolve them, very often that's the end of it then, and things get better.
Dr. Gleisner still uses the local hospital for his more severe cases, but the success of the Brindle House experiment in treating more than 1,000 men and women has confirmed his theory that many patients can be helped far better outside hospital.
One of the purposes that we set up the service was to try and meet people's problems without admission to hospital. And in fact, we have, over the 4 or 5 years we've been open, averaged at something like 60% of the national admission rate. People who are admitted to hospital only stay in hospital a relatively short time. And I think this indicates that we're offering help to people that they can use at home and sustaining all the positive aspects of their way of life while still getting help.
A week after her first appointment, Barbara joins an all-women's therapy group. Warm-up exercises help clients to relax and create a trusting atmosphere where they can examine and share their tensions and problems. This isn't something that comes easily to them. Christine Nixon is the therapist.
People come here believing that they're pretty worthless, that they've made a mess of their lives. And the first thing I try to do is increase a person's belief in themselves. Physical contact is very important, that if someone's upset, to actually touch them matters much more, and to recognise that the person isn't just a name or a face. Yeah, that's right. Look at each other. It's really important that you can actually look at someone.
Some members of the group have overcome their problems and will soon leave. But for Barbara, her first session is a difficult experience which will prove upsetting.
Even though the person's there.
It's me.
You do that, do you, Barbara?
That's why I've got my glasses on.
What difference do your glasses make?
It's hiding. It's hiding me.
Do you need to wear your glasses for this session?
No.
Do you think you could take them off?
Don't know.
I'd love to see you properly.
Go on, Barbara.
Well done. When we're all in a circle, we're very close physically, and I'm trying to generate a group idea, which is also true for each individual within the group. Also, getting clients to value themselves, to make a positive statement about themselves. And remember that they do. Say it.
I am a special person.
And your name is?
Eileen.
I'm Wendy, and I'm a special person. Here and now to us. Barbara, look at our faces. Is Barbara a special person?
Yes. Yeah.
I would join saying, I think Barbara's a special person.
I think Barbara's an important person. and very special.
I think Barbara's a very nice person.
She's one of the family.
Gosh.
I'd like to feel that it's family. It's hard.
Most people who come have bottled up their feelings for years, and really what they go through is an unbottling procedure. But it's not just a form of emotional bloodletting, just letting feelings out, but that people release feelings that have been caused through various life happenings and incidents, but actually learn a way of coping with those emotions.
Barbara is illustrating her feeling that the world is piling up problems for her. Other clients will help to demonstrate her sense that she has two sides to her personality, an outside which ignores all her problems, and a depressed and angry inside which can't cope with them. It's the inside Barbara who came to Brindle House for help.
Outside Barbara happy, inside Barbara depressed and angry.
Because this part of
Here
Barbara
it's safe for Barbara to express her pain. The troubles which add to her depression will be represented by a pile of foam cushions carried by another woman. But when she steps into the role of her depressed inner self, the scene is real enough to produce a startling emotional explosion.
I'm trouble. For you, Barbara. Trouble. I don't want it. Here, you have it. No, can't take no more.
Have it.
Can't take no more.
I don't want it. You have
Can't
it.
take it.
Have it.
No.
Have it.
No. Trouble. No. 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 Leave me alone.
Okay. Barbara. What is it you want to leave you alone?
Everything, everybody.
Okay. Can you all turn your backs? Just turn your backs. Okay, they've got their backs turned. That trouble's so familiar, isn't it? Yeah? Because the client is producing something that's very real to them, and to actually see their inner feelings in the open, in front of them, produces tears. It's not always upset tears. Sometimes they're tears of relief, that those feelings are there in the open, and that they're real things that something can be done about. What did it feel was coming towards you in those cushions?
Felt like the world coming in, choking me. I couldn't go away.
I hope people see Barbara afterwards, or wish that they could see Barbara, because half an hour afterwards she was smiling and she was happier. She was moving faster and in a more alert way, and said that she felt like a weight had dropped off her shoulders, because Barbara's in a position where she feels she can't let her emotions out. She's got children, and it's upsetting for them to see their mother crying, whereas here it's safe. And the fact that all those clients came here believing that they were pretty useless and weren't worth very much, and now feel in a position to offer that strength and caring, means that there's something therapeutic happening for everybody involved in the group.
The final verdict on Brindle House comes from the patients. Eileen has been coming weekly for a year, and she's requested a review meeting to tell her therapist that she's now ready to end her group sessions and leave.
I feel now that I am ready to leave, and I feel really confident that you've done everything you can for me.
I'd have been quite worried about you leaving before Christmas, about what you were going to replace the group with, and I don't feel that now. I wonder if that's just how I'm feeling, or if that's something you feel.
No, that's the way I feel. Yeah, I feel that, I don't need... Actually, I don't need you anymore, but, I'm really grateful for what you've done for me.
Will you tell us that again? You don't need us anymore.
I don't need you anymore.
Good.
The Brindle House approach challenges the role of conventional mental institutions. It can offer better care for patients in the community and ultimately save money for the National Health Service. But unless the attitudes of the public, local authorities and those who care for the mentally ill all change, it'll never be widely accepted.